All right. Well, it's been a while. We got Rich still on vacation. He's got a new location. We got a little room plant in there. Looks good. Some wall decor. We're gonna talk a little stocks tonight. We've been doing a few different strategies, changing a few things up. I think Rich is going to lead out with some of the changes he's made. I want to kind of highlight FIX, which was a winner we had recently. Kind of a gamble we made, but it worked out. So I do want to capture that. Maybe going forward, we can try to target stuff like that. But yeah, go ahead, Rich. Start. Tell everybody what you've been doing.
All right. So, all right, where to start? So we've made a lot of changes here. Let me just go ahead and pull up some of my rules here. All right. So here's these stock rules. I've adjusted. ETFs are kind of. I'm not going to cover that, but the stocks here. So I invest no more than 1.5% of my account value, and then I'm going to increase in time. Number 2 is buy in by placing a limit order or of the bid price if it's realistic. And I'll explain what I mean by if it's realistic. Number 3 is place one triggers a one cancels the other order. And then I'll explain that. And then use 1.5 times the highest ATR to place a limit and a stop in the one cancels the other order. And I'll explain that. And then enter upon confirmation. So this one's kind of like unpredictable. So a confirmation can be anything. It can be like 2 green days showing a positive momentum. It could do like after suspected area of support, or if Jerry recommends buying in, right? So all those are cues of confirmation. With that being said, we have Jerry and I have 2 different trading strategies as of right now. I tried following the strategies that he's on, and to put it in perspective, just like I was telling him, it's kind of like going surfing, right? You're trying to catch a wave, and I see a little wave, just enough that I know it's gonna break, and I'm gonna catch some a little wave here, and I jump on, and Jerry's like, no, that's not the one I'm looking for. I want the bigger one. So I'm over here like riding out. I paddle back out. He's still sitting out there. That's fine. Whatever. Oh, here comes another one. I jump on it. I ride that one. He's still sitting out there. And then I go all the way to the shore on that second one. Well, all of a sudden I see him getting on this huge wave. And I was like, shit, I missed that one. But I had fun with my two little ones. Well, here he comes with this huge wave, right? And that's kind of like the philosophy that we're trading right now. I'm trying to catch little waves, and he's waiting for the bigger ones. Now, don't get me wrong. If he says, hey, I see a big one coming, and I'm going to jump on it, but honestly, I'm going to probably get off of it before it's finished, because I'm known to fall off my surfboard. So if that makes sense. So how I'm doing things now is I'm looking for the confirmations. I'm following the rules. So I'm going to walk you through one of the trades that I'm going to place right now. So after speaking with each other, we decided that GPK is a potential buy for Monday when the market opens back up. So how do I place that? So looking at GPK right now, first things first, I look at all the different momentum. So the ROC, if it goes above the 0 line, that's showing strength. Ideally, I want these green and yellow to cross over. I'm not going to get in the weeds about all this, but going to GPK again for the different the MACD, the stochastic, and the RSI. So I'm just looking for positive momentum, and stochastic's already showing a reversal. RSI is beginning to reverse here. MACD's still kind of catching up a little bit, but it's all showing a positive trend. The last two green candlesticks, so that's a good sign. And then these are my the lines I drew myself, which isn't 100% accurate. You know, anybody can draw a line, but these are the lines I drew. There's my resistance line, there's my support, and then I'm also keeping an eye on the cloud. So based off everything, you can see it's bounced off not only the cloud, but also the support line. It's also confirmed it with the second candlestick there. And from what I can see, that's a pretty solid green candlestick, showing that the bulls are still in control. The next step is to go to this bar chart website, and you can type in the ticker, and I type in GPK. And what I'm looking for here is a few things. So I do look at the moving average, and it's above its 5-day moving average. It's close to above the 20-day. It's still red, but as you can see, 24.66. The moving average is 24.84, so it's like right on the 20-day moving average. It's above 50, above 100, above 200, above year to date. So those are all good indicators that it's doing well. The bulls are in control. The MACD oscillator, ideally you want it above 0. So anything above 0 is good. And as of right now, it's all kind of below 0. So, you know, going back to the MACD, you can see that it's not quite ripe yet, but you can see that the MACD is starting to reverse. The orange line's the average. So once that crosses over, kind of like in this area here, then these numbers will then turn green. So I just kind of look at those as perspective. It's not a go or no go for me. It's just something to look at. What I'm doing really is I'm identifying my true range. So you have the 9-day true range, average true range, ATR, all the way down to the 100-day average true range. So you have 49 to 56. What I do is I pick the highest true range that I can find out of these timelines. So in this case, the average true range for GPK, I'm going to use 56. So going back to my chart here, you can see ATR, I list it here as 0.56. So now what? So I got my average true range. Now I got to place my stops and my limits. But before I begin anything, I need to find out what the bid price is. Okay, so I go to my brokerage account and I type in GPK and I look for my bid. So bid right now is 24.27. Now in the rules it said if it's realistic. Now sometimes you'll go onto this and you'll see your bid is way below what the last close was. So sometimes the bid in this case would be like $1. Well, I'm not going to put a limit order in for $1 because I'm wasting my time. I know it's not going to hit. There's just no way. And if it did hit, honestly, I don't even want to mess with it. So, but if it's realistic, 24.27 is close to 24.66. You know, it's even in range of the ATR. You know, all this stuff you got to put in perspective. So this is a go for me. All right. So it's recommended by Jerry. It's got the bid price. It's realistic. I got my ATR. Now I just need to put my stops and my limits. So what I do here is pull up my calculator here, and I take the ATR of 0.56, and all I do is multiply that by 1.5. So that's 0.84. So 84 cents. That's it. That's all I'm doing. That's my little wave. So then when I put my my long pattern in here, so I'll put this here. I'll put in what my bid is. My entry price will be 24.27. Okay, and then my ticks, I just want 84 because that's all I want. 84. My stop will be 84. All right, this is not appealing to Jerry there because he's looking for a big wave. I'm looking for a little wave. Now, yes, it's at 24.66. Yes, my buy-in is at 24.27 is below, but that's what I'm willing to buy in. I'm just going off the bid. So what I want to happen on Monday is I want it to open anywhere in this area here. I want it to go down via wick down to my bid price, purchase it, and then I want it to go back up and hit my limit. So in this case, it's only 3.46%. I get it. It's not a lot, but this varies. Sometimes it's 7%, sometimes it's 2%, sometimes in this case it's 3.46%. It's all based off the numbers and everything else. So that's how I'm going to put my order in. So then I go here and I put in my conditional order, and I'll put in order one triggers one, cancels the other, and then I'll select my buy. Now my limit order is the purchase, which is 24.27. So I put in 24.27. Now I want to know how much, and my rule of thumb right now until this becomes better, like I know it's working properly, then right now I'm just doing 1.5% of my cash value, which right now I'm sitting at about 46,169, I believe it is. And then 1.5% of that is 692. So I'm not going to invest any more than 692. Calculate it. I could afford 28 shares. Got it. My limit is 25.11. So I put in the same amount of shares, 28. I'm going to sell it. Good till canceled. 25.11. Okay, and then my last order, this is one cancels the other, is another sell order. And this one is a stop. Same amount of shares, 28. And my stop will be 23.43. 23.43. Okay. 23.43. All right. And I review it. So I got one triggers the other. My limit 24.27 for the day. That's how much it's going to cost. If I hit winner, I'm only making, was that $23? And I'm only losing about probably the same, about $23. So I place all orders. I know it's not a lot, but it literally took me 5 minutes to do.
Yeah.
So right now this is just I'm not in the testing phases. It's getting a little better. So I'm not quite just testing, but the goal is for it to hit that limit and I make a cool $20. So I did the same thing for wing here. As an example, the order already got placed. When I put the limit order in, I actually got it at a better price. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So bought into it. My limit order was about right here, but it opened lower, so it bought into it automatically. All I needed to do is get to that green via wick or anything, and I'm good to go. Yeah. I'm gonna capitalize on it. Same with I did the same thing with LW. LW's in the same boat. I put the limit order a little higher. It purchased cheaper, so I'm just waiting for it to hit that green. So I'll make 2.5%. That one wing is about 5%, and then GPK, you saw that one's about 3-point-something%. So they're little waves, but they add up. So if you just imagine I hit all three tomorrow or on Monday when the market's open, let's say I hit the limit on all three, which could easily be done. It's a realistic thing. That's $100 right there. I mean, so it's not a lot, but it's just like if you save up your change, and you go to dump out your jar in like 6 months, little do you know you have $500 in there. So this is just a phase of evolution, and eventually I will increase my it will no longer be 1.5% of my cash value. I'll be putting in maybe like 5% of my cash value per trade. So when that happens, now I'm making $300-$400 on that trade. And I'm not quite confident in it yet of hitting the 17% and things like that. So that's how I'm doing it, and that's my new strategy.
Right on. Yeah, so I guess I'll go over, because I kind of changed up my rules too, I think, since the last time we did this. So I'll go over my rules real quick. So, just like Rich is talking, I kind of broke mine down. Because I used to have just like one complete set of rules from start to bottom. This is how I pick stocks, this is how I enter them, this is where I put my stops, and this is how I take my gains. And for me, it was just kind of like confusing. I was forgetting things, or there's parts of my strategy that I wanted to refine, and I'd go to like tweak something and end up tweaking a whole bunch of other things. So what I did, it's easier for me, is I just broke it down, right? Like, okay, so here's how I have rules for picking the stocks, I have rules for entering the stocks, where I'm going to set my stops, and I break that up. Like, the stops is not how I want to take gains. Taking gains is separate, so I made rules for that too. So, I've kind of evolved. You see my quote here from William O'Neill. He's the one that really coined the CanSlim system. So I based everything off of that, and I've kind of migrated away from it. I still think that earnings per share, quarter over quarter sales is very important, and that's at the very foundation of the stocks I'm picking. And I'm using Stock Rover's screening services to help find those different stocks through different screeners. But that's like the foundation, right? So once I'm screening through them and I find those, then I start looking for stocks over the 200-day moving average, the EMA, not the SMA, right? And we've talked about what that is before. I use Zacks to verify these are 2 or higher. So the reason I'm doing that is just to get a more foundational understanding of, like, is this stock good, right? Like, we know it's good because of EPS and sales data, but now what are the institutions thinking, right? So Zacks kind of rates them, gives them that buy rating based on analyst estimates. Then I'm using IBD and their scoring system, which I've come to really like. Then I start to look at the charts, get into the 12-month week chart, making sure it's an uptrend over the past year. And then I build the chart on TradingView with the Gann fans and the fib retracements, and then I look for the stocks that are above the cloud. So once we get to that point, so once they get onto the watch list, we built the chart out, we know these are the ones we want to look at, and now we're really focused on the ones that are in that upward momentum, so we can ride those waves and get on our surfboard and make some money. So then we look at, all right, now where are we going to enter them at? All right, so looking for above the cloud for at least 2 days, or above the fan line. So I'm looking at the fan line and the cloud are real hard support areas. So if it's showing that they've stayed above it or they're riding above it, from what I've noticed and what I've seen over the past year or so, is that's a pretty good support area. Now, and that's not to say it won't break through support and go into the cloud or below the fan, and then you may lose some money. But generally speaking, that's pretty good. The other thing that we've noticed is that a lot of these stocks that are in this quarter over quarter EPS gain and sales data is off the charts are forming these cup and handle patterns. And you'll see those through some of the charts where basically it'll form this like little U, have a little handle, and like we're looking to buy at that handle because usually, generally speaking, that indicates it's about to go up and we're about to make some real money. And then also just for me, I put in there to wait until that handle forms on these cup and handle patterns because I've gotten a little bit excited before and bought in a little bit early. And then I'm using these pivot tables into where I'm buying. I don't want to buy above it, 8% or more above this pivot. This 8% you're going to see over and over again in my strategy. It's just where I set my stops. So my 8% is the amount of risk I'm willing to accept. I'm willing to let it fall 8% before I get out. And that's pulled kind of from William O'Neill strategies, is what he recommends, between a 6 to an 8. 8 works for me, so that's what I'm sticking with. Once it gets above into the green, then I start manually adjusting my stop to set an 8% kind of manual trailing stop as it goes up. And then when I'm looking to take my gains is whenever I'm using the person pivots. The person tools are pretty good. They show areas of where they think that the limit and support, support resistance are. They also show buy and sell indications. So I'm using that to really identify when the stock is about to reverse and try to get out of it within a day or two of that. Or if it hits that person limit, the person pivot at the upper side, then we're going to take some gains up there. So my strategy is not necessarily buying the lows and selling the highs, but getting in between the middle there. And we'll kind of see that here in a second. All right. And we are on trading. Okay, so here's one. Now this kind of, so I explained my strategy and what all I'm doing, and that's great. This one is FIX. So Rich and I discovered this one the other day. Like I was like, hey, I think FIX is about to make a run, and Rich noticed that it was right around earnings, and he's like, hey, the last time they did earnings, it gapped way up. It had like almost like a 17% run in 2 days. And then we went and looked back in time, and we saw during the previous earnings, it also had a pretty good run up. We noticed back in time. And again, here's another one. And this one has consistently, almost every quarter, had an earnings surprise. So let's get over to here. So I was like, all right, you know what? Let's go ahead. I'm going to buy into this one, right? So I bought in a little bit early. Again, I bought in because it was above my fan line. It was right in this fan line, really. And it had a pretty big day up. It was inside the cloud. So that usually means like, hey, there's going to be some undecidedness in here. It could go up and down, who knows? But I was pretty confident, with it, the way it was right in this fan line. And then after, 20th of April, when it had this big fan up, and then it opened almost at the same level the next day, I was like, all right, I'm getting in. So I bought in. We just kind of held it, and then we can see what he did on earnings here. So the day after earnings, so it reported earnings after close. So it was sort of falling. I've adjusted this actual red. It was a red bar kind of down here before. I've adjusted it because of that trail, my moving trailing stop, like I discussed before. But it came down, fell through the cloud. I started to get a little bit nervous here. I was like, man.
I got stopped out right there.
Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah, you got stopped out. And then you were like, hey, should I buy in the next day? I was like, it looks good. Post market, I was like, you might lose out on 5% or not, but it looks good. Because post market, after here, it was like showing that it was going to gap open, It didn't, though. So when it showed that post market and pre-market, and then right when the market opened, it opened here. That might have been a small gap. I wouldn't even count that as a gap. But what did it do? It did a 12% day. It just killed it. And then, so Rich, I think you bought back into it, right? You made a couple bucks on that day.
Yeah, I placed that strategy that I was just talking about right on it, and I got all my money back. Yeah. So I broke even on this one.
Yeah, and we can see it went, and like you were talking before about that surfboard. So I'm looking for 14% off of this one, and that's based off of, that's where the pivot is on my Thinkorswim application. So we'll see where I'm at with it right now. It had a green day today. Volume is above average, so I'm kind of keeping an eye on that. The other thing I've noticed, like on these days, obviously on the green days that there's good volume, those are good signals. But if it's a green day with weak volume, that's a bad signal. That usually means it's about to reverse. Or if it's a red day with big volume, that's bad. Red day with low volume is generally good. And these are all just like general ideas. But I'm keeping an eye on this one. If it starts to reverse and I get a sell signal sometime this next week, I'll probably get out of it and maybe capture 10% instead of waiting, because there's no guarantee this is going to go and bust all the way through up to the 14%. We can see that the high for the past 6 months is this 152.13, this black line here, and I'm looking for 156.88. So I'm looking for it to go up higher than the high, which it could, but I'd also be satisfied, if I get a sell signal, maybe around this area and getting out and taking 10%, that'd be great too. So that was fixed. We may try to identify some of those around earnings time again. I think that worked out pretty good for us. We'll see how it goes. All right, so AAON, this one, when I bought into it, I don't know. I bought into it because it was right in the fan line, right? So it looked great. I got into it here, which just happened to be kind of like the high at the time. It fell down. I've adjusted this because it's made some money, but it was like way down here. I thought I was going to get stopped out. It got real close, and it went back up. So I was like, all right, cool, we're making money, and it's falling back down. So I don't know where we're going to be with this one. I'm kind of waiting to see. Again, this one looking for 10%, and then LEGH looking for 9% on this one. And I think it'll probably find some support around the cloud and then come back up. It'll probably test this high and then fall back down. That's kind of what I think is going to happen with that one. And then we talked about GPK, and this is kind of what I'm seeing for GPK. So again, with I'm using the fan lines, Fibonacci retracements. So I see it, well above the cloud and the fan line, which is a strong signal for me. It just hit a PPS buy signal today, so I'm gonna get in, and I'm probably gonna be looking at, I think it was 12% on this one, so it'll be somewhere up here where we're trying to get to. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
How are you placing your limits on there?
Oh,
are you just
you want to see
eyeballing it, or what?
No, I could show you. I got to pull up this. Where's that? Give me a second. We got
You just going off of 8%?
No. Well, I mean, that's what I put my stops at. But I will log into this. I'll show you.
I showed this lieutenant one of our videos, and she got bored really quick.
Yeah, we're not very entertaining,
Yeah, I was like, listen, I was like, oh, this is a good part. Watch this. And she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, she's like, nah.
Like, oh my god, these
She's like,
guys are fucking.
oh yeah, okay, thank you. Can I please go away now?
Yeah. She's like, she didn't even know how to give me my phone back. She's like, I'm not here. Just give me the phone.
Yeah. See here. Look at this. All right. You see my screen here?
Oh yeah, you're using PPS for your stops and limit.
Yeah. So, all right. So these are what I'm talking about, right? So this is, if we go to GPK, so you don't see fan lines here, but you see, so these are my pivots, this purple line.
There's your signal to buy, right?
There's my buy signal. And then,
how often do you have to adjust this?
What do you mean?
Stops and limits.
So
is it daily?
I place them, and then if I'm in the green, I adjust my stops daily, as long as it's hitting new highs. Once it stops hitting new highs, then I just leave it alone. Once I buy into it, if it's in the red, I just leave it. So my limit will be whatever the top of this is. All right, so I'm going to be looking at like 26.72 is what I'll be looking to make, and then my stop will be whatever 8% from my buy signal is. So that would be kind of if we go to
And you
50.
enter upon market, or you do like during lunch or
Yes.
after lunch?
Yeah, so lately what I've been doing is around 11 o'clock Eastern time is when I look to buy in. Because there's
Because
usually,
it has a little bit of a rally, or it's like a neutral point of the day, right? It's kind of
right, yeah. So
midday.
a lot of the stocks we're buying into are same companies like institutional owners are getting into. Um, so what's going on is that the institutional owners are getting in there, and then they're buying everything in the mornings, and then they break for chow. That's when I go to buy something around lunchtime when it falls back down, and then after lunch they'll come in and buy some more things. But this is FIX, so this is kind of what it looks like. And then here's where my limit
Yeah,
is.
I can't help but just to picture I just pictured like a king coming in and like eating all his food at the table, and like uh gets up to leave, and then the little rodent comes out from the wall and like picks up the scraps of food and fucking runs back in the hole, and the
Yeah,
fucking king comes back and is like, where was I? Starts
yeah,
eating again. And
yeah,
he's like, I got my piece.
yeah,
uh,
yeah. But yeah,
uh,
so that's I think that's where we're at. Um, we're moving along, I think.
yeah. Uh, I can let me see if I can see one more thing here. I did want to. I can't. I'm going to talk about something. My indices real quick. My momentum indicators.
Okay.
I just kind of. I reread what they're about today, so I think I'm sharing that. Am I sharing that?
Yep.
Yeah, you're presenting it. All right. So GPK. Okay, so what I gathered is I'm gonna talk about MACD here. So this orange line here is, you notice how it's kind of smoother than the blue one.
Mm-hmm.
So the orange line is actually they call it a signal line, but it's like 26 days. It's basically an exponential moving average, but it's like it's like a how I'm looking at this now is you should be familiar with like moving averages, like if the stock is above the 20-day moving average, it's doing better than it has in the last 20 days, so it's better than the moving average. It's the average. So when the blue line is the actual MACD line, when it's below, and the orange is the average. So when it crosses over the blue line, the MACD is actually doing better than average. That means it's a positive momentum. When it falls below the average, it's doing worse than the average. And I noticed that all of them are like that. So they all have an average line and an actual line. So in this case, the orange line is the average for the stochastic. It goes up and down, kind of smoothed out. When the blue is the actual stochastic. So right now, if I pull up the stochastic, it's showing it's cut up above the average. So now it's above average.
Okay.
Which shows a positive momentum. So like this is a good sign.
Yeah.
Like this is a bad sign, right? This is a good sign, bad sign. This is good sign. So it looks like it's, so if this goes all the way up, kind of like this one here, kind of cut up and it went all the way up, stayed above average the whole time, without even looking at the chart. Like, see, if you line it up, that was up, 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 up. So that's just one indicator.
Yeah.
If you get all three of them in line, that's a strong, very strong momentum. And then if you read about them, it's basically, if it's doing better than average, then it's showing that the bulls, who's in control, the bulls or the bears.
Yeah.
So, and then RSI has the same thing. The yellow line is the average, and the purple is the actual. So once it crosses above average, then that's a positive momentum.
Yeah.
So looking at GPK, stochastic is showing it's starting to turn above average. The MACD, if you look real close, I mean, you can look at the bars if you want, but you can see how the blue kind of turned upwards right here.
Yeah.
So if you just continue on and this orange goes down and the blue crosses over, now you're going to have a setup looking like this. So then you start seeing these green bars popping up. So it's solid red, and now it's like a off white type of color. So it's, and then it goes down, 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 and it switches to green, red, 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 off white,
Yeah.
and green. So it's starting to reverse, so to speak, but never use just one indicator to call the shots, because as you can see, they're all showing something a little different. Here's you can see the purple is just barely crossing over the yellow, so that's showing a positive change. So I mean, don't get me wrong, you get stuff like this where it crosses over, it cuts right back down. I mean, that happens too.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So like this is starting to change, this is already changed, this one's starting to change, and then when you go over to the other indicators here, pull up GPK. It wants to load. All right. And this is my favorite indicator, but
Yeah.
so this one,
What's this?
I changed the
DMI?
colors. Yeah, this is the DMI.
Yeah.
I like this one. And I've noticed that every time I see red above green and the blues in the middle, that's strong. Or the blue is kind of like if it's above 20, like this one here, like over here is 25, right here is 29, so right there is about 20. If we pop up the chart and look at that day, which is, I think it was about right here. Yeah, so red and over green, that's bad. So see how it's going down. It's strong downward momentum. So that's bad. And then right here, the blue line's like around 27. So it's kind of neutral right here, and you can see it's kind of like flatline a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not really spread out like it is over here.
Yeah.
And then it crossed over. So once that crossed over right there, you can see it crossed over like that day, this day right here, plus its earnings, it gapped up right there. Bam.
Yeah.
Shot up.
Yeah.
And then it went neutral again. You can see it's just a consolidation of everything.
Yeah.
But what I see right now for this one is you can see the red is starting to reverse back down and the green starting to reverse up.
Yeah.
So that's a sign that it's starting to change direction.
Yeah. And earnings is
So
next week.
And earnings is next week. So with everything kind of coming together, and plus this right here is just this is a strength indicator. So below 0 is not very strong, but you can see it's starting to reverse in strength, because if you just look at the starting to reverse right here, strong, and right here it was, strong.
Yeah.
So if we get a couple more days like that, I would imagine all these indicators are going to show positive, and then at that point you got the potential for, pending this earnings.
Yes, I think it's going to be neutral on Monday, and then because I think earnings is after hours, and if it has good earnings, I think good earnings with like good guidance, this one might gap open on Tuesday.
So I'm going to get out right here, right?
Yeah.
But you'd probably buy in at about the time I'm getting out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So And if you bought in, let's say like right here or so, and it does the same thing, it could ultimately get it, like go up to about right here,
Okay.
which is about 10% or so,
Yeah.
which is that's a good. And then in ideally it's probably going to go up, bounce off this
Hmm.
this resistance is now support, and it'll probably just keep going even higher
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
So you might be able to capture your 8% easily, and then do your adjustments and keep riding that wave until it starts, and then the sell signal or whatever the case may be comes into play.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think I'm looking for like 26.50 or something like that. So I think this one's not going to be. I think I'll make like 10% off of it. Maybe is what I'll be looking at.
yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
So every time you like okay, so like this one here, what is this?
Chipotle.
Chipotle. So right off the get, like it's a $2,000 a share
Yeah.
price. But I did analyze this a little bit. As you can see, the momentum is just, it's been strong for a long time,
Yeah.
and it even got stronger right here. It gapped up again after earnings.
Yeah.
But so look at the strength here. When I start seeing stuff like this, I actually start analyzing these as well, because these also show trends. Like that's the highest. This is the highest it's been in a long time, right? Don't worry about this one here.
Yeah.
Like this one here is the highest it's been, but it could ultimately be peaking out right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just something to keep in mind, right? Because it could ultimately start in a reverse in strength.
Yeah, for me,
Now,
that one's like too high. I mean, I ended up on the watch list because of my first set of rules, but yeah, I'm not. That one's too high. What about ANET? We're looking at buying into that one.
Well, so yeah, I know this is too high, but the only thing I can find is if you look right here, I went all the way back in time
Yeah.
to see any sort of trends, and I saw this. Look at the peak right here. I put a horizontal line, and it just so happens that's where it gapped up to. So that might be a nice line. If it does start to go back down, that's probably going to be its support line.
Yeah, maybe.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So, which one did you say?
ANET, because that's the other one
ANET.
we're looking to buy.
Oh yeah, that one. So this one has an ATR of $4. So that's a big ATR for this one.
Yeah. You got some downward action on that one.
But this one is a setup for a flag. So that's a flag. That means that's a bullish indicator that once if it confirms breakout on a flag, that thing's gonna go up to the moon. That thing could ultimately make a lot. So, and look what's happening. So the green, it's consolidating. Look, it's consolidating right here.
Yeah.
So it's doing something. It could just break out again and go. And if you look close at this one, the green is cutting towards the red, and the red's cutting down. So it is crossing in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right there. Like this was a bad sign, right? Red over green.
Yeah.
And then it kind of was neutral, and then it lost strength, and then now it's crossing back over.
Yeah.
So if this does break out, you will see a green above red with the blue in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's above zero, and then my other indicators. See ANET. I'm gonna buy into it regardless. Like I think it'll be all right.
Yeah.
This one's also the stochastic showing the same, like it's already crossed over.
Yeah.
The MACD is beginning. The blue line's beginning to turn upwards, so it's gonna go above that the average line.
Yeah.
There, which is a good sign. And then the RSI is also crossing above the average. Yeah. So above average, starting to turn above average. But just like all of them, stochastic's usually the first one to trigger, right? And then MACD's usually the last one to trigger.
Yeah.
And I want to say it has something to do with the amount of days, because this is like a 9-day. This is these are 14 days.
Oh,
So, this is if it is going up, this could potentially reflect sooner than the 9-day because it's just there's less time to calculate
yeah, yeah.
in adjustments. If I were to change this to like a 21-day, this thing would probably be wide open. Same with this one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna bet, but I don't like to mess with the numbers because I don't build these things and I don't want to screw it up. So
Yeah.
I've done that before where I've adjusted it to reflect what I want it to see,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really work out too well. It kind of screws it all up. So
Yeah.
so ANAT, GPK, they're kind of in the same boat. The big thing is these earning days.
Yeah.
That's the
And-
big question
Yeah,
there.
and they're both right up against earnings. So, yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I'm going to get into both of them on Monday. We'll see what happens.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I almost, as far as my roadmap goes, I do my month to month, like where we're at on track to make our $1 trillion, and.
Oh yeah. How'd you do this month?
So I only made 1.8% this month, and
What was your goal?
So my 10% goal was 14,231, and I ended up at 14,162. And my big goal, because I got the two goals, my 15% goal was like 15,995. So I was like nowhere close to the 15%, but I almost hit the static goal. So we'll see. So we gotta do some catching up this next month. See where we're at.
Well, I got my goal too. My
Oh.
records for the month,
Okay.
and my goal was $1,500,
Yeah.
and I made 10. Hey, at least I didn't lose money.
That's
Hey,
right.
at least I didn't lose.
You
money.
made money.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
I
go.
made money.
Yeah.
Hey, I made money and I learned some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paid tuition and still made money.
So the reason I kind of like this strategy is because honestly, like I wake up in the morning, like because I work my time zone, like I wake up and the market's closed. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like Christmas every morning. I wake up and I'm just like, did I win? Did I win? And I open my portfolio and if there's like a ticker in there and it says 0, I'm like, oh no. So I have to go into history, and then I noticed that it sold for a higher value that I bought it for, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And then I pop up Trading View, and I'm like, yes. And it hit my limit. I won.
Yeah.
And so that's a good feeling. And then I do it again and again.
Yeah.
I just keep doing it.
Yeah. That's good. All right. Well, I think we're good on this week's. I say this week's. I don't know what our battle rhythm on these webcasts are going to be, but on this this version of Stock Talk, so we'll attack it, and hopefully we can hang out with the same strategy for longer than a few weeks and see what happens.
Yeah. Hopefully I got the same damn strategy next week.
Yeah.
I'll debrief it. It's fucking a lot of things change. Like,
Yeah. All right. We'll get it next time then.
all right.